Okay, okay. So tell me a little about the vaccines in Brazil. Any good news? Anything?
Yes and no, because our government doesn't take much action about it, you know. And the last news also are not very exciting or anything like it. What I've been seeing is that what is happening about the vaccine here is being being bought by private companies. You know,
Oh,
some private companies are just like, okay, if the government doesn't want to buy, okay, I'll buy it. And it's going on this way. And here, many people are being very, I don't know, skeptical about these vaccines. I even took the liberty to send questions to many of my friends, many groups that I am in, like, okay, so would you take the Pfizer vaccine or any other Johnson and Johnson vaccine or CoronaVac vaccine? And some of them say that they wouldn't take any of them at this point
why?
because they don't trust the results. They believe that the media is lying a lot. They believe that the government is lying. And some people are completely the opposite. They say that they would take the vaccine because there is no vaccine that is 100% secure that will work against the condition that is being vaccinated of. you know and it's going on this way, like many people, okay, I take the vaccine when it's available, I'll be there. Other people, no, I will not take this vaccine on any condition at this point because it's too early, it was too fast, and it's not safe, la la la. This la 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 is very Brazilian, okay, just worry about. and and are going on this way. But the point is that what many people are worried about, like about uh, this group of people that will refuse to take the vaccine, is that the virus is an organism, like for a lack of a better word for that, but it's a like an organism that is extremely adaptable.
Of
That's
course.
why it changes so much because it's very simple. More complex organisms like us and many other animals, they are more complicated and more complex to adapt to these kind of mutations. The virus is very simple to mutate. That's why we have seen so many different variants coming from all over, because it's a very
Recently, the
simple thing.
British one, I've heard that is coming out and spreading all around Europe, which is much more effective and contagious than the previous one in Asia. And
Yeah,
it exactly proves what you just said. Yeah, about the side effects. Many people think that there are many side effects that will probably happen if you just inject the vaccine. But that's my question exactly. Um, let's ask you a question, Bruno. Okay, so imagine you were in power. You are one of the authorities. You had the
hmm
power to decide whether or not to import the vaccine. Would you do that?
I
Would
would
you
choose.
would you
I
take the risk?
Yeah, if I were in power, I would choose to import the vaccine. You know, and if I had the control, I would first vaccine doctors and nurses because they are the people who are taking care of people who are getting ill. You know, so that would be my first group. You know, after that, I would uh, give the vaccine to, how can I say, risk people with some special conditions such as heart diseases, diabetes, hypertension, me, and other people who have conditions that they can make the coronavirus even more severe. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
and I would go like make this, I don't know, this gradation of this grouping before selecting the people according to the seriousness and the high risk level they face.
Speaking of selecting, let's talk about the different groups in the society. So first, you said that you would definitely go with the doctors, nurses, the people who are taking care of the other people. So I'm gonna give you a situation, all right? So
Hmm.
besides the nurses, we have politicians, we have religious leaders, we
Uh-huh.
have religious leaders, and let's see, students. I mean,
Hmm.
both people who are studying in universities or people who are teaching, as like us. So we have three groups here: politicians, religious leaders, people who work in the church, and those kind of those kind of people, and people who are studying or teaching, people
Hmm.
working and studying.
Well, to be honest, I would take the politicians and put them on the trial test. You know,
On the
put on that.
with
Put the politicians on the trial test. If they go, it won't be missed. Uh, and
I saw.
after after the positive testing and after the positive result, okay, the vaccine works, I would rather go for the teachers, you know, because and the teachers and after the students, because education is something that is always being put aside. It has always been put aside. So I would go for teachers and then students and then the school staff. You know,
Uh-huh.
like the principals, coordinators, the people that are working with the cleaning of the school and the organization of the school, librarians, and so on. And after that, maybe who knows the church people.
Maybe not.
No, no, because I don't see church as something essential as at this point. You know, I believe that people can get together online as we are, and let's pray together. Let's worship. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
it's not something that we need to be in church necessarily to do. We can do that online for some time. You know, different because I don't know how it's going there in your country, but here, education this year was a lost year. This last year,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
2020
Can't
was a
agree
lost
more.
year for education. You know, I don't know how people will go. Here we still have some cities and some states that already approved the online distancing study for this year because it will continue for some time. You know, although schools have been back in face-to-face classes, it's like not
Yeah, they've been
everybody that is
back.
going.
Are you kidding me? Like the schools are, getting back to normal, like students get to school in person?
Yeah, but still in a kind of how can I say uh, like in a rotation, something like some students go on a week, other students go in another
Ah,
week.
they okay. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
got it. They
it's
take
not like
terms and yeah,
yeah, they take turns. I forgot this. I don't know why I forgot that take turns. Jesus.
happens.
Oh,
All right.
maybe it's my holiday. I just came back from holidays, you know, and and they take turns and so on. But it's funny to say that they take turns. But because if you go to the beach is more crowded than shopping mall on Christmas Eve. You know,
Exactly.
I have many of my former students and my active students on my social network. Like in 5, 6 stories, I see four at the beach. Monday vacation beach. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense for me, but
Yeah, but honestly, since you're a teacher yourself and you work in the educational systems, how would you assess online teaching in your at least country or city? Let's not get into a huge scale. Was it as effective as we thought it would be?
not exactly because it only how can I say it only stood out the difference between the social classes between richer people, middle class people, and poor people. Like there are many students and many people around the country, not only my city, but this is around the country, that they don't have access to the internet. You know, they don't have, or even when they do, they don't have access to a good quality of internet connection, and they can't just take the class because the internet freezes all the time, the internet dies all the time, so they just can't take the classes. And then what happened? Many teachers slash heroes, because these people, they are heroes, they took from their own money and they started printing the activities and handed over to the students. You
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
they call the students, they post on the social network like, oh, pass by my house and grab a bag, and they took a picture, and there are many bags hanging over on the guy's fence at home, and the student just pass by and take one, full of text exercises, and even I heard about teachers who recorded videos and put on flash drives so the student could watch at home. You know, these
Wow.
kind of
That
things.
yeah.
That's very inspiring, to be honest.
Yes, it is, honestly. And in Iran, something like that happened. I don't know. But the difference is that in Iran, schools are still closed. Nobody goes to school these days. But in terms of online teaching, I don't guess that it has been as effective as I myself thought it would be, honestly, because not only we didn't have that much of interaction. One thing that I've noticed is that if myself, you know what I mean, if I was a student myself, I would definitely I would definitely prefer to get into classes in person. How about you? Like as a teacher, you're a teacher, and I know you prefer face-to-face classes, right?
Yeah,
What
but
if you were
when
a student?
yeah, that's the point. When we had the social isolation started, the schools were closed and so on, and I started teaching online. And like we said that we were to teach online, I said, oh man, this is not gonna work at all. I was skeptical. I have to admit, I have always been skeptical to distance class, you know, distant teaching and so on. Here in Brazil, we have initials called EAD. We call this, yeah, distant teaching. We call that in Brazil,
Uh-huh.
EAD. It's like teaching on distance or something like that. And and then when it really started, of course, it wasn't brilliant at the first class. We took some time to get used to it, to get used to the procedures, like teaching a group of 12, because I teach in an institute, 12, 13 students face to face is way different of teaching them online, because online, if a guy sneezes, everybody listens, like here in the headset and so on. But we took some adaptation, but after it became successful. And today, I am craving for online teaching, you know,
You do?
when yes, when the when we had a holiday, they asked us, okay, so who's going to teach in face to face? Who wants to teach online? I say online, me, please, online. and and today I have like I only go face to face classes on Saturday. During the
Uh-huh.
whole week, I stay right here, the same position that you're watching me right now, teaching.
Well, I guess you definitely like that, but to me, I don't know. Maybe it's because of the internet or because I miss face-to-face classes, but I don't feel it as kind of productive as face-to-face classes. You know, I also teach online classes the whole week. You know what I mean? But the thing is that, what I've noticed is that most students don't get as much as they get when they're in face-to-face classes. It's much easier because we don't need to commute anymore, which is a great point actually. But the thing here is that is it as productive as face-to-face classes?
Of course, there will be differences, and there will always be differences. Not It's not 100% the same, and will never be. You know, uh, because when you teach face-to-face classes, like you can group the students in 3 4 different groups, and you can visit them simultaneously. When you do that online, it's impossible to do it. You know, when you visit a group and then the other groups are just alone and they cannot communicate with you and vice versa. There is these differences. For example, a student who wants to solve a doubt with another student on an online class is just impossible because uh, if you breathe louder, the microphone will catch and I will listen to your breathing. So this thing takes place in a higher measurement, you know.
Yeah.
So there is a difference. But if you think about, um, it's something that we can adapt. We can make
You know,
adaptations. And many softwares have been developed and others have been um, improved and enhanced to make this teaching, this online interaction much easier. You know,
Sure.
for example, here we're using one of them, that which is a Skype, and I teach by using Zoom, which is another one that for online teaching works really nice, you know, very, very well. And we can adapt, we can make some adaptations, changing, and try one strategy, try another, see what it works until you find a north path to go.
Sure.
you know, I think it's not effective because of the distraction. When you attend to a kind of online class, there are a lot of distractions. Suppose you're listening to your teacher and simultaneously you receive messages on your Skype account, on your Instagram, Telegram, and all of them distract you. Maybe also you can drink, eat, but in a person class, you can't do those kind of stuff. I think online classes is not effective because of this kind of distraction. Maybe in the future applications can do some kind of rules for those kind of classes to remove those kind of distraction. I don't know. Maybe in the near future it happen. I'm not
I
sure
would
about that.
personally, I would have to disagree with you about the distractions because my students on the face-to-face class, they have the same distractions that the ones you mentioned, because my students sit down their desks with the phone next to them, you know, and
Really?
yes, because I teach adults, they work, they have kids, they have family, and sometimes they are having classes and they receive a text from work. Oh, I need a report. Oh, I need to talk to you. And or for example, one of my students' spouse sent a message. Oh, bring milk home. You know, this kind of, oh, daddy, I miss you. And they take the phone, they watch, they see the social network when I'm not talking to them. You know, recently I have to call my students. I have to tell off a student. Oh, teacher, I didn't understand. If I get out the fucking phone and pay attention. You know,
But Bruno, I totally agree, and I know what you're saying. But when you're in a class, physically, and your teacher is observing you, and you are being observed, it becomes minimal. So you only take those calls that are emergencies. Like, for example, if your friend likes your post, you're not like, ah, okay, let me just see what's up with him, because your teacher is observing you. You're being monitored. Am I right? But when it comes to online
not in
classes,
Brazil. Not in Brazil. Not in Brazil.
good point actually. But I guess when you have online classes and your mom or your someone just calls you, you prefer, okay, the class is just, the teacher is not gonna find out. Let me
uh,
just see what's going on with
let
that
me
thing.
let me let me geographically put you in the place where I am at this moment because I'm sitting here on the table, which is in the main path of my parents' apartment. You
Sure.
know, so in this way are the bathroom and the bedrooms. Right there is the main door, and there is the kitchen, and behind the screen is the main path. So my parents come and by all the time. Sometimes I'm here that somebody knocks the door or ring the bell, and my parents they don't listen. I hit the wall because they are behind here, and I turn off the microphone and say, "Get the door!" And it goes like that. But like my parents come by all the time here, but it doesn't distract me because I'm already
Because you're a
focused.
teacher.
But even if I were a student, because I'm here not having a class with you, I'm here shooting this podcast with you, and my dad already passed by 2 times.
What if you just honestly, what if you were a student? Which what if you were a student not as a teacher, okay? So you really wanted to learn something. Imagine you had to take an online you had to take an IELTS exam, all right? So would you prefer face-to-face classes, in-person classes, or online classes?
It would depend a lot. To be honest, it would depend a lot. For example, of course, face-to-face classes, it's very nice because you have the teacher there, the boards, the presentation, and everything. Being there is something that it's really motivating. It's really interesting. It's really exciting, of course. But if I didn't have a choice, the only choice that I would have would be online classes. I would have to take online classes. I think it's just a matter of trying and adapt people. Like people have to try and adapt themselves. You're not going to succeed necessarily, but if you don't try, you never know. That's what I tell my students. Oh, you may not like having online classes, but have you ever tried one? If you tried, who knows? You would like it.
It
Maybe
okay,
not.
okay. In terms of trial and error, let's get back to the vaccine. So you said that if for success you need to try something. Would you try the vaccine on yourself to see if it works?
If I
Just you
if I
just
was the if I were the developer, well, many people who already did it. I think the
I
guy
mean, you
who
yourself, you yourself. You said that for success you need to try something first.
yes,
Would you try a
I
vaccine to see if it works?
if I were the developer, maybe if I developed the COVID vaccine, or I don't know, who knows, maybe in the future AIDS vaccine, why not try myself?
You're
If
Wow.
you
really
have
risk seeker, you know? You're really risk seeker.
I wouldn't take the risk, honestly.
because think about, yeah, you yourself are developing a vaccine. You need to
Hmm.
try. If you want the thing to work, why not trying yourself?
But they're
Well,
making mistakes a lot.
You can, you can. The same mistake you can have in a vaccine, you can try a recipe, it goes wrong, and you can have a very strong stomach ache, and you stay whole day on the toilet.
that can
It can
happen.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can, it can. So, but in a situation of the today's vaccine, like I personally, if I get the opportunity to take it, I would take it.
You would?
I would.
No bullshits?
No bullshit.
Wow, man, you oh okay. Because I myself, if I had to, even if I had to, I wouldn't. Because like, man, what if something goes wrong and there are side effects that would stay with you for the rest of your life?
Mm. But that's the point that people have been worried because as the vaccine got ready in less than a year, and people are
Hmm.
rushing things because this pandemic is, I don't know, like just extremely hard to face. I
Sure.
understand and I don't disagree with this, like, okay, but if something goes wrong, I don't disagree with this line of thought because it does make sense, you know. Uh, but on the other hand, this vaccine will eventually come. For example, I I have taken all the vaccines that a person should take during the life.
All right. Yeah.
Uh, small smallpox, flu, and polio, and many others. All of them. Yellow fever, all of them. And Every time that I took a vaccine, I have listened, or my parents have listened. In case of reaction, take him to the doctor. Possible reactions are this one, and that one. Or he's gonna take this vaccine. He shouldn't eat this food. You know,
Sure.
it is a precaution. It is a precaution. The only point is that at this moment, we are still we are still studying the reactions. Some people are having allergic reactions to the Pfizer vaccine. It's being broadcast and streamed all over the world. We don't need to hide the Pfizer name because of that. And okay, so these people who are having these allergic reactions, how many people are facing the quantity of people who have been already vaccinated? Is it an amount of people that we should worry about or not? Is it inside the range of possibilities? Okay. Is it not inside of the range of possibilities? Okay, so what precaution we should take? This is part of the study. You know, developing a vaccine for whatever disease it comes, these procedures are part of that.
Yeah, I can't agree more. But Bruno, I don't want to hold you any longer. So that was really great.